step 3, so add base machine. This is where it starts to get more interesting. So machine files, this is very cool. So let's go ahead and look into what we need to do. So we will need to create a machine directory inside our configuration directory. So let's go ahead and do that. We can do that either here from, we can even do it from here, from code. So let's go ahead and create a new folder. Let's name it machine. That's cool. And then let's see what else do we need to do. So we're gonna be creating a machine file. What are machine files, you might ask yourself? Amazing question. Very smart. So machine files are actually files that will define how your device is configured, right? So for example, if you needed to add a custom device tree file for your system, it will go into your machine configuration. If it needs specific configuration parameters, I don't know, like whatever, like if you need to add a firmware configuration parameter or a bootloader configuration parameter, well, whatever that's related to your actual hardware goes into machine. And it is always a great idea to create a machine configuration file, even though you're going to be using someone else's as a base. Like for example, if you were going to be doing a machine based on NVIDIA Jetson, MediaTek already provides a bunch of different machine files, so you can base yours off of them. But what's important here is, like, if you create your own machine file, then you can inherit whatever you want to base off, just as we inherited before, like as we were checking the inheritance of really ink. But in this case, you will inherit the machine configuration file, and then on top you can add your changes. That's a lot more clean than then just trying to do the changes on top of whatever recipe you want to do. And that's not good. So let's create our own custom machine file. Let's go ahead and see what MediaTek has on the repos. That's always smart. So let's go ahead and see here. So in the MetaReady skeleton, they have a machine. Let me see if they have a machine also here on the MetaReady demo, but I don't recall so I don't think they have. So no. So for the demo, they only have the distro, but machines are defined on the skeleton. So I assume they usually use just the machines on the skeleton. So let's say what they have here. So okay, MetaReady skeleton, config, the conf directory, then machine. We already have that, and then they have the i500 skeleton.conf. Let's see what this is. So essentially, they're just including the MT A1A3, which is the 510, I think, and then they're adding custom DTV, just as I mentioned. So if you wanted to customize DTV, just add it there. And it seems like this is for the pumpkin. So MediaTek produces the SOM or the chip, like the system on chip, right? The SOC, but the carrier board, like those are usually not produced by MediaTek. Okay, yeah, granted, MediaTek has their own dev kit, right? That is produced by someone else, and there's also a bunch of other partners from MediaTek that produce amazing dev kits. Like for example, we have this pumpkin dev kit. We can actually look for it. So it's G510 pumpkin. Let's see if we can find it here. So G510 pumpkin, that's done by Logic. That's the name of the company, and they have this. Actually, it's a very accessible priced dev kit when compared to the other ones, and it's very cool. So yeah, so that's that. So that configuration file seems to be done for that specific machine. Let's see if we can find another machine that makes more sense for us to use. We will need probably to go look for it somewhere else. Let me just see if we can find it here. So machine include. Okay, yeah, this is for the pumpkin still. We don't need that. So let me see if we can go into Ready. And let's see if we can find some other meta layer that might offer us a proper machine file that we can start from, right? So let's see if like this makes sense. MediaTek BSP. So BSP boot support package. That's always related with, machines and hardware and all that. So very cool. So let's go here. So yeah, they have a machine directory, and yes, they have a bunch of different machines. So we might need to get ours from here, which is very cool. We already found them. Let's see what we have here, and then we can decide. So let's see. We can maybe try to Control F. Well, already found one here. So this is called Genio 510 AVK. It seems to be a kind of like a link to another file. So this Genio 510 AVK conf, the AVK stands for evaluation kit. So that works perfectly with what we have here. And what they are doing is they essentially just linking mtk well this file here, so mtk a370 evk. So let's look for that. I'll just control F it because I'm lazy. So here it is. So you can see it's like they're including the same file that the pumpkin configuration file was including, plus one other thingy here, the 7921, which I don't quite remember which what was that. So we can go look into it in a little bit, but I assume we can just base off of this file. So let's just kind of go through it very quickly. Let's copy it over. I'm sure we can use this. So let's create our own config, our own configuration file. Let's call this I don't know, like G510, like let's call mtk G510.conf, right? Yeah, .conf. So mtk G510.conf is going to be the name of our configuration file for the machine. So whenever we want to build for this specific machine, we can just do mtk G510, or if we want to create another one for, I don't know, like this 700, we can just add it here, or the 520, which is coming very soon. So yeah, so let's just copy over here this file that we're going to be basing off, and then let's look into it. So they define the device tree. Since we're going to be using the EVK and there's not going to be any changes done to the device tree because we're just going to be using the same carrier board that we have, let's just leave it like that. Then they have the UV configuration. Also, I would just recommend, like, if you don't have any specific changes done so far to your board, like, just leave it like that. It's going to work with the EVK. I'm sure this is just going to work out of the gate. So libdram, it is very interesting. So they use a 700 EVK file for the libdram board name, but we can just leave it like that. I don't think that's going to affect. If it works for them, it will work for us. Then the opti DRAM size, LK board name. So in here they have the Genio 510 EVK, makes sense. And then they have machine features, so they add some machine features. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but when we did the distro file, which actually we have here, we don't need to recall, right? So for when we did this file, we have distro features. So distro features were packages that we added specifically for the distribution. In here we have machine features, which are packages that you add specifically for a machine. What's the difference? The difference is like for example, you can use another distro with your machine, or you can use, right? So whatever changes are associated with the machine, whatever you use that machine, those changes are gonna go to, right? And the same goes for the distro. Whenever you use your distro, those changes are gonna be, as long as you use the distro, those changes that are associated with your distro are gonna go into whatever you're building. So just take that in mind. So this packages here make sense to be on the machine because the machine supports audio. The machine supports Bluetooth. The machine supports PCI, USB gadgets, USB host, Wi-Fi, TSN, and UC LTE. If you're building another machine that doesn't support Bluetooth, like, why would you add that package, right? So that's kind of the logic that we need to follow here. And then we have this machine overrides. Essentially, this just tells Yocto, hey, if this machine is a good override for like this machine can be an override for this. Like if you use this name, use this machine file. If you use this other name, use this machine file. Okay, so that's it. And then there's some on-semi firmware that seems to be for some cameras, like the AR 0430 and the AR 0830. We can look into that later, but it doesn't make any damage to leave it here. I think that's because the cameras that are included with the dev kit, which we're going to be enabling later, they come there are on-semi chips. So we'll have to kind of don't take that with a grain of salt. I'm not really sure, but we'll kind of verify that later once we enable camera capture. But this seems pretty good. Like, this seems pretty sane. We can just use this configuration file for our machine file. All right, so let's do the same. So let's go into our wiki. Let's just copy this step and let's use it as our commit message. So same thing. I'm sure you guys are already pretty familiar with Git. So git status. Okay, there you go. Git add conf machine file, git commit -m. Then we're gonna add that right there, and then we're gonna do. Okay, so we didn't need to use the password because we already did it very recently. So cool. Okay, now we have our machine ready. We're getting very close to start building our Yocto. So I need to initial config file templates. Okay, so we have already done. Let's do kind of like a quick recap. Okay, I know you guys want to start building now, but okay, let's take our time. So let's do a quick recap. So far, we did our layer configuration file. So we told Yocto what our layer looks like, what does it do, how does it behave, right? Then we added a distro conf. So we started defining our distro. We added a base distro config file. Later, if we want to add features to our distro, we can do it there. We also added a custom machine, which now allows us to define custom changes for specifics of our device. So if we wanted to add another sensor, you can definitely add it there. Okay, cool, right?